About 20 years ago, I started traveling into Eastern Europe, into Czech and Poland in those days. And it was on successive trips that I continued to take, and the need began to grab us. I'm driving through from Western Czech down to the capital, and every city and town we go to, the guys say, "There's never been a church here. There's never been a church here. There's never been a," and I said, "So how many churches are in the nation?" "Oh, about 200. There's 7,000 cities, but 200 churches." And it was a series of events like that. About 20 years ago, I started praying these prayers. "Jesus, I don't know if you're calling us, but I volunteer. I volunteer myself, I volunteer our family." And it was through that the whole concept of Prepare International began. And we came up with this concept: if we could lift up the hands of the existing frontline shepherds, and if they would bring to us the emerging young people that had a passion for the Lord, and we could equip and empower and maybe even totally shift the way they see things. Number one, it cost them a lot less to live there than it would an American missionary. Number two, they already know the language. Number three, they already are culturally integrated. And number four, it's natural. And we saw that through this method, it could multiply without us being there all the time. So that was kind of how the whole idea got started years ago. So I tried to manage it very simple. We have this much opportunity, but we have this much resources. We'll only say yes to what we have resources for. But about 4 years, I felt like the Lord say, what would happen if you always said yes?
We are sitting in Karlovac now, and Karlovac was one of the biggest fortress which was defending not only Croatia at that time, but the whole Europe from the Islamic Turkish army and a huge Islamic empire. And they stopped here. So it was always the border between major political but also spiritual influences: Islam, Christianity, Eastern world, Western world, Orthodox, Catholic, whatever you want. You want Russian influence, then Western influence. And it also reflects the spirituality of this place. It's always the battlefield, always.
My name is Oliver Buljat. I'm 48. I'm born in Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, but my father is Croatian, and for all my life I live in Croatia. I'm raised in communist family, where it was forbidden to almost mention God. And when I was 22, in the midst of the war in former Yugoslavia, the Lord found me. And from that point on, I serve Him with all my heart.
My name is Tomica. I'm 45 years old. I have 2 sons and a wife, Diana. Most of my early days, I live on the streets. I was doing alcohol, drugs, and things like that. I was in very bad condition in early days. On 22, I meet Jesus. I start to pray, start to reading a Bible, and very early, for me early, I start to develop that movement of churches with my friends.
My name is Sasha Bochvarov. This is my wife Daniela, and I'm a pastor of the Agape Christian Center here in Zagreb, Croatia. So the church here exists for 22 years. It started as a small group of students meeting together and reading the Bible. Started sharing the gospel with other friends, and it grew to a group of 20, 30 people. It started sharing the gospel all over the city, and eventually grew into several churches that are here in the Zagreb area.
We first met the guys here in Croatia in a school we had in Graz, Austria. There was a wonderful man who organized the school. He's a great apostolic leader, and he pulled these guys in from Croatia. I didn't know any of them. All the guys from Austria, Slovenia. And through those schools, we just began to make relationship. Callie was the first woman ever to speak in front of these Croatian men. They had a biblical frame of reference that said women can't speak in front of a man. And when it was all done, the leader of this movement of churches in Zagreb, where we're sitting today, he came up and said, "Theologically, my mind is stretched, but it was just right. I invite you to our country, and I invite you. We need the message and what you guys are showing us."
We met Randy and Callie Boyd first in a school that they held in Austria, and it was amazing to see how these schools were like it was very different than what we thought of a Bible school before.
And when we met Randy in a prepare school in Graz, I think 10 years ago, probably, I don't know. And I was shocked because I didn't understand him. He teach about kingdom, about that same principles what he teach probably now in schools. But I didn't understand him. For me, that was like rocket science. But I have that feeling in my spirit that when I am with him, I sense that freedom which I didn't have personally.
I think 13 years ago, Tomica and I, my husband Tomica, we went into Austria for one school that he already been, and he was telling me of a guy who he met, and he was thrilled how he preaches. So he decided to bring me and our younger child. So it was very difficult to even get there to Austria with the small child and be in all of the sessions. And so I finally met that guy, but he was in the shadow of his beautiful wife, who I already also met. So I don't recall what he was telling, but I really do recall what she was telling. And I was delighted of her and him being together, and how Randy gave space for his wife Callie to express herself, and at that time that was like revelation for me. I never saw that before, and for me that was heavenly.
Whenever we first started coming to Czech, like Randy said, one of our friends told us that when the communist wall fell, then the Western Church flooded the area, and a lot of people supposedly got saved. They walked the aisle, they said the prayer, but then the Western Church kind of disappeared. And so what we want to do is impart to the people that we know, impart to them as much as we can, and then see them make disciples that make disciples. Because we're just an ingredient, and we're like a catalyst, and what we see as our part is we bring the message of the kingdom and people together and connections, and then from there they expand across all the nations, Africa, South America, and they expand from there. It's been really fun. It's been a great adventure. We get to sit around tables and talk and laugh and just really share the kingdom together.
I'm happy because Randy and the PI staff do not want to rule over ministry and rule over anybody, and want to involve other people and as much people as it is possible to be part of that ministry. They are not some kind of tourist for Jesus moving around. They are real deal. And if they are not real deal, I wouldn't sit right now here and talk.
We kind of have a vision of bringing kingdom mentality to the city, to saved people and non-saved people, and we would like to have it as a part of the new covenant position of every believer. This is where Randy actually really helped us, even through Prepare International School and all that. So we would like to touch people with kingdom, saved, non-saved, society, business, whatever. So this is where we want to go.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have organizations like Prepare International to really come in and bring in like the teachings that Randy and Kelly have been able to bring in. It is so important because there's just such a great need for that in the churches here. Well, I really think that hope is really rising for what is to come in this region, and specifically here in Croatia. Hopelessness in the past has just riveted this region, and today we're beginning to see some signs that is changing.
I believe for the church to grow in this country, it's really necessary to have fathers, and I believe that what we gained from PI is that we had a father-son relationship with Randy and Kali, and also we were encouraged to become fathers to others, fathers and mothers, of course. And I think this is something that is really crucial for development and discipleship in Croatia and the churches and overall.
We come here about twice a year. We personally come here, but then we send our team in, and every trip, I can honestly say that every trip, when the reports come back, if it's us or someone else, there is progress in every level. The churches are growing. The life in the church is growing. Families are growing. Marriages are growing. In the area of finances, they're believing God for their finances. It's exciting times here. God's on the move.